So I want to talk a little bit more about the object selection tool and then the idea of destructive versus non-destructive edits. And so one example of a destructive edit, let me actually duplicate this layer so we have a backup of it. I'm holding down Alt or Option on my keyboard and then clicking on the layer in my layers palette and just dragging down below the layer that I had selected to make a duplicate. Then what I'm going to do is take this layer. Right now this is what's called a smart object. It has this little icon next to it. Don't worry too much about what that means initially, but what I'm going to do is actually rasterize the layer. There's some things you can't do to a pixel-based layer in Photoshop until you rasterize it. And one example of that would be just making a selection and then deleting pixels. So I selected inverse and then press delete. If it's a smart object and I try to do that, let me back up, do that to the smart object layer, press delete, it's going to give me an error because smart objects are not editable in the same way as rasterized layers. They just function a little bit differently. So for this example, for now, I will actually, like I said, go to the hamburger icon and rasterize it, which I already did. I could convert it back to a smart object, but I will leave it rasterized. Then, an example of a destructive edit, like I said, is deleting pixels. When you do that, they're gone forever. You're not going to be able to get those pixels back after you continue to work and do new and different things after that step. Non-destructive edits, on the other hand, would allow you to, it's like a layer mask. It's just hidden, it's just temporary, you can change it more later, for example. So what I'll do here, deselect, we'll use our object selection tool in the rasterized layer. And I can hover over any of these objects, and Photoshop's going to do a pretty good job, hopefully, of recognizing what objects are in an image and making the selection in a really automated way. And so here I've just selected this hand. And so since this is a rasterized layer, now if I want to do an example of a destructive edit, I could go up to Image, Adjustments, and you have all of these. You can adjust the levels, make it more, high contrast essentially, richer dark values and brighter bright values. You can change the hue or the color and the intensity and invert things. There's all kinds of them here. And if you go to these image adjustments through your application bar up at the top, these are all going to be destructive. Once you make them, you can't undo them. And so if I do something like, I'll click colorize here to make this even more dramatic, maybe. Do an increased saturation. Maybe I won't do colorize. We'll just drag the color slider around and just sort of recolor this. And I'm controlling how vivid or intense, that recoloring is in terms of how vibrant the saturation level is here at the same time. Click OK, deselect. Then what I've done is I've taken that, natural wooden color hand and I've changed it blue. And when I start to do something else now to this image, those pixels are now blue. They're not going to be something that I can go back and change back to that natural wooden color, at least not in a very easy way. And oftentimes you might want to do a permanent image adjustment. You're just changing the contrast of something, or you're just making something that's blue a little more yellow or whatever, and you don't intend for it to be something you want to change later. Smart objects are going to work differently, even with those same image adjustments that are traditionally thought of as more destructive. Because smart objects, if I do that same exact manipulation, first I better select that object, 1 second. So object selection, select the hand again in the smart object version of this photograph, go up to image, adjust, hue saturation, change the color, change the intensity. In this case I'll make it a little bit different color so it looks like we're doing a different thing here, make it red. And you can see in my layers, I have a smart filter. So this is a smart object with a smart filter. And I'm able to toggle on and off that filter if I want to. And I can actually go into it and I can further change it, go back in, and it has flexible settings. And so this is not the same thing as when we start talking about adjustment layers, which look and feel and perform very much the same. And I actually prefer to use those instead of smart objects with smart filters in most cases. But these are also a way to do manipulations to photos and have them be flexible and non-destructive and further able to be manipulated.